the desert of the real.
Welcome to the Desert of the Real. I'm your host, Ryan Hudson, and joined with me, as always, is your co-pilot,
Jason Dietz.
The Desert of the Real is a...
Should I say I can't do Chewbacca.
I can't do Chewie either. Well, that's definitely not.
Yeah, I know.
That was not bad.
No.
That wasn't bad.
Okay.
The Desert of the Real is a movie podcast where I force Jason to watch big blockbuster movies he's refused to watch because he didn't think they were worth his time. We're currently watching Star Wars. We're two high school teachers. We teach English, film, philosophy, creativity, music, appreciation, and film studies classes. And we have graduate degrees, and we attempt to use our academic training to dig deeply into movies. We explore the creativity, philosophy, ethics, film studies of our films, and encourage you, the listener, to think critically about your films.
Yep.
We just want to start off, thank you for being here. It means a lot that you're here to listen to us talk about these movies.
Yeah, that we love or don't.
Yeah, oftentimes Dietz doesn't love them.
Sometimes you don't either. So.
I know. I mean, but we're glad you're here with us. Maybe you like Star Wars. Maybe you're one of our students, or maybe you just like to listen to movie talk.
Yeah. Or maybe, on the outside chance, you actually enjoy the podcast.
I mean, I hope so.
Itself. Maybe.
That's you. Give us 5 stars.
Yeah.
Like us.
Yeah.
Write a review. That helps out a lot.
Yeah. It does.
Today we're talking about Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yes, we are.
We have a lot to talk about, like the background and things for this movie, which is exciting for me because I like talking about that stuff, and you have no idea about any of the behind the scenes that was going on.
No.
This movie has a fun background.
Okay.
What's interesting, watching it in chronological order, this is the 4th Disney movie.
Okay.
So in the grand scheme of things and how it's affected the rest of Star Wars, doesn't make sense watching this one first at all. But essentially, to sum up, Disney made Episode 7, which we'll get to, obviously. The next year, Rogue One, which is the next movie we're going to watch. and then Episode 8, which we'll see. I've been planting seeds about Last Jedi for you. It's the one that broke Star Wars and divided the fandom and all these things.
Okay.
So the next movie, no matter what, was going to be tricky. How are we going to follow The Last Jedi? And it was this movie, Solo, a Star Wars story. And so literally Disney was like, every December, Star Wars, essentially. And that was going to be it for a while. And then this movie didn't do super well. This is the first Star Wars bomb, technically.
Really?
That didn't make money. So there's a lot.
That's weird to me.
There's a lot of things going into this. One thing, Star Wars was exciting for it was exciting for at least the first 2 films leading up to The Last Jedi. And they were like, how about this movie? How about this movie? There's all these rumors about different movies. And then they announced Solo, and collectively, as a fandom, we're like, I don't know who wanted this one.
Really?
Who asked for young Solo? I feel like the original trilogy is the young Solo we need as much of,
Oh.
But then they're like, the Obi-Wan Kenobi spinoff. Like, okay, maybe that one could be cool. And that would eventually be divided up into an 8-episode TV series on Disney Plus, and not being as good because it was a miniseries, I think, which is too bad because they had some actually good ideas. Anyway, so one hand, the lack of interest, but still there. The other thing is, instead of being released in December, this was released in May, only like 6 months after The Last Jedi shook everything up. But something most people might not realize is this movie, it came out in 2018 in between other blockbusters everyone's going to go see. So, for example, like Deadpool 2 has only been out for a week before, and that was also a big hit that people went out and spent money on. Infinity War, one of the most successful movies ever, been out for 29 days, but is still the third highest grossing film this week.
Yeah.
So people are still spending money on other films. But the point is, it was a busy, crowded summer, and Solo kind of got in the middle of all the other movies people are seeing. And Disney trained us for 3 years in a row to wait for December, but for some reason didn't do it this time, which was a huge mistake. And Disney learned all the wrong lessons from it. We saw a lot of critics or people writing articles saying, like, this is Star Wars fatigue. 4 movies in a row, that's too many movies. But then we're like, yeah, but you're making 2 to 3 Marvel movies every year, and they're all making money. It's not too much Star Wars. It's, I don't know, maybe some missteps or
The wrong
some,
Star Wars.
maybe some people will say. So I don't buy that excuse. It's Star Wars fatigue at this point. Maybe now in 2025 with a couple Mandalorian shows and other shows like television, maybe it feels that way. But I don't think it was that for this. I think it was weirdly put in the wrong time. And
They didn't follow their formula.
Didn't follow their own formula. So behind the scenes,
That's weird because of the 4 that we've watched for the podcast, this is by far my favorite.
Yeah, we're gonna. The other thing is this one had it ramped up its budget because of some behind the scenes issues. The people who were directing originally were Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who they directed 21 Jump Street. So they were like, let's take a television show from the 80s that's not a comedy and turn it into a wacky comedy. Now they can breathe new life into this thing. They're also the guys responsible for the Lego Movie and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So they're comedy guys mostly.
Okay.
Anyway, so they made about 3/4 of this thing when Disney fired them. That's not the official terminology. They left because of creative differences, which basically means they were fired. From what I've gathered from where I was looking, essentially they were every single take and every single shot, they're trying to encourage their actors to improvise and joke around, which made some of the producers or writers angry, and they extended the budget, which is always a problem. They made something more expensive than it needed to be.
Right.
Do you know who is officially the director for this?
I actually do, because I looked it up.
Yeah.
Ron Howard.
Ron Howard. So Ron Howard is he's made some incredible movies on his own right. He's made some duds too. But essentially how people see Ron Howard coming in is the safe or easy choice. We need someone that can just do what needs to be done and knows how to point a camera and stuff. But essentially, he remade this movie. A lot of the story and other ideas aren't his, but he basically remade it from the ground, which almost doubled the budget or something.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So a lot of critics seem to like this movie, but fall on the vague criticism that it's either forgettable or it was too safe, essentially. It was the one that existed, and what even happened, I don't remember, type of thing.
Really?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Dang.
Yeah.
All of those people are wrong.
But it still wasn't a hit no matter what. I don't know if everyone has seen this one.
That's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
I will admit, I think I texted you that this felt a lot more like an Indiana Jones movie than a Star Wars movie, which may have been part of the issue, but I mean, I like Indiana Jones. So
yeah.
I went in thinking this is going to be terrible. It's it's not Harrison Ford.
Right?
There's almost nothing in the movie that I didn't like.
Yeah.
Which is very unique for me.
That is. What do you give out of 5 stars?
I would give it 4.5.
Yeah?
Out of 5.
Well, that's awesome.
Really, really liked it. The only part really that I didn't like was the end, which was kind of pukey. That's what I wrote. It's a pukey ending.
Like specifically,
How
him getting the Falcon, or like the Darth Maul cameo.
Right, that and the love turning on thing. What is her name? Kira?
Yeah.
Turning on him and like it was just like a
triple cross.
Right. And Woody Harrelson's death was
But Han shot first.
I know.
You get it?
And I got
Han
it.
shot first.
So he's the bad guy in the cantina. I got it.
You know?
But really, other than those things, like, I don't know. I felt like the ending was super telegraphed. Like, I knew what was coming. I wanted her to, okay. So, honestly, I was like, well, she's not in A New Hope, so where does she go? And then I'm like, oh, they're going to make her the bad guy. She's going to, and then that's, so.
So, they, all the main actors were contracted for 3 movies.
Oh, really?
And if this movie would have been successful, there would have been like a trilogy of these.
Oh.
Where Darth Maul would have been, I guess, the main
Fleshed
bad
out
guy.
as yeah.
And then maybe I think also they were floating like Lando would have been the main center of one of them. And maybe Kira.
That would make sense.
But Lando, played by Donald Glover, he is getting the spinoff. And I actually don't know, like they bounce between a series on Disney Plus or a movie, which I hope they go with. Because almost universally, everyone's like, Lando's perfect, though. Yeah. Like, no notes to Lando.
Right.
In fact, some people think he stole the show. Like,
yeah, he was
the
really
problem
good.
is, Han isn't interesting, Lando is.
Han isn't interesting? Really?
Some people are saying
That's
that.
so weird to me. How am I defending this movie?
I was
totally engaged with the whole thing. That's so weird. But he's just coming up.
I know. I don't.
Lando is an experienced con artist.
Yeah.
Han is learning anyhow.
Yeah.
That's so weird to me. I think I'm going to disagree with everything everyone says all the time. So maybe I'm wrong about everything.
No.
You're like I was in. Like I was very in.
I think it was a mistake. Not that I'm pining for sequels necessarily or needless spin-offs, but I think Disney cowering down from a disappointing box office was the wrong choice.
Yeah.
But we'll never get those except for the Lando thing.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
I felt the other pukey part was how he got the ship. That was dumb. Like He came in and gave him a hug. I'm like, oh, okay, that's how he's gonna do it.
I mean, Lando does say in Empire Strikes Back, "How's my ship?"
Right. I get it. Like it all ties in, and they did a great job tying in everything.
Yeah.
But like I don't know, like the last 15 minutes, I'm like, why? The only other thing is a standard action movie objection that I have for all action movies.
Yeah.
So just they can't hit anything.
No.
So when they're escaping the mining colony?
Oh, Kessel?
Castle. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're escaping and every single shot that the good guys quote unquote make hits. And literally no one even comes close to anything.
Yeah, that's just action movie
I
stuff,
know,
though.
and I'm always gonna have that complaint. If we ever do any other action movie, that's dumb. It is not logical. But other than that, I really, really like this movie.
Those are fair criticisms. My problem is I feel like my criticisms are huge deals.
Do it.
I have two. I have two main criticisms, and I think they greatly affect the movie. One is having an answer for where Han Solo gets his things, I actually don't mind the Millennium Falcon. That's the one I don't care about. That's a good one.
Okay.
Him getting his gun, only because the gun gets a hero shot. Were you wondering how he got his gun? No, not really. It's like, if you've seen the Mufasa movie, there's a part
which
where...
I will never.
I know. I don't even like the movie.
Okay.
But Rafiki gets his staff, and it's like, were you wondering where he got his staff? No, I've never wondered that. But like...
Why? How is that a huge thing?
Okay, because the other examples I think are worse.
Okay.
Like, Chewbacca...
I love that.
Okay, him saving Chewbacca, as far as we know in the backstories, he saved Chewbacca's life.
Yeah.
I would maybe say Chewbacca couldn't figure this out on his own type of thing. But him going like, Chewbacca, I'm not going to call you that. So what, we have an origin for Chewie? Come on, that's not how nicknames work.
No.
But the egregious one is, what's your name? Han. Last name?
Oh, that was
Who are your
kinda
people?
dumb.
I don't have any people. Han Solo.
That one was dumb, I admit.
So actually, Indiana Jones is a great comparison because of the young indie scene in Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great comparison of how to do it right and not be in your face about it.
Okay.
Where do you get the whip? He picked it up there. He whips his chin. He gets his scar, which Harrison Ford has in real life.
Right.
Why does he wear the leather jacket and hat? It's because of this one guy he met one time.
Right.
And this movie is kind of doing the same thing, but I don't know, in a in your face type of way. The Solo thing, I think, especially is it just is a huge.
Yeah, that one was dumb. But the other ones I didn't even notice.
You can look at it one way of, oh, he is taking his new name and making himself a name out of it.
Sure.
But I kind of wish he would have just come up with it himself or something. Han Solo. I don't have a people. I'm Solo. Han Solo. That would have made it 10 times better to me.
that would have been better.
You know?
For sure. That's not a movie breaker for me, but...
it's not as important as my
you.
other complaint is.
Okay.
I think that Han has the same character arc as A New Hope. A guy who's maybe rough on the edges, who comes around to save the day because it was the right thing to do in the end. You know? He's like, we can't sell the coaxium to the bad guy. It's because these people, yada yada. But like in A New Hope, it's the same thing. It's like, I got my money, I'm out. Just kidding, I'm back here, baby.
Yeah. Right.
I think we didn't technically learn anything new of the character.
Okay. I can see that. That's fair. So he needed to be the rogue 100%, so that when he was the rogue 95% in A New Hope, it was growth.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe, is Disney lot letting him be more scummy or more...
Right, that's what I felt for most of the movie, which is, okay, maybe that's a part of the problem I had with the ending, then.
Yeah, I mean...
I didn't think of that at all, but I think you're right, yeah.
But, on the other hand, I think there's a lot to like about this movie.
Yeah, a ton. Like, it's very... Yeah, there's a lot of really clever things, I think clever things that they're doing. Like, the whole where did Chewie come from and all of that was really... I loved it. I thought it was really cool, really clever.
It does kind of imply Chewie's been eating people, though.
Yeah. Which, that was another thing I wrote, or I think I texted you also. Like, Chewie's a lot more violent than I remember. Like, there's a scene in there where, like, he's... Like, literally, you can't see the bottoms of the arms, but he's literally holding two arms he ripped off of somebody. I'm like, wow, that's a little violent. But
right, that's the one that would have fit me perfectly.
But yeah, like how they met, and I thought it was great. You're right. Chewie is smart enough. He probably could have noticed that the pole wiggled and done it himself, but
or maybe that's just a nitpick, you know.
Yeah, that didn't bother me at all.
Because I think in the books it was Chewie owes Han a life debt, which is never said in any of the movies. And honestly, I'm glad it's not said in this movie. I think it's like, no, we're like partners essentially, like
right, as
opposed to I owe you a debt for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm glad they skirted around the in quotes here, canon of that, you know?
Yeah. I would have liked maybe 5 more minutes of their relationship developing, like scattered throughout the middle of the movie would have been good. But
yeah, because we love Chewbacca as a character.
Yeah.
And it's not
and
like...
especially we love his child and his wife. I mean,
what was this?
those we just love his whole family.
Oh man.
Anyhow,
definitely has a kid and a wife back home.
Oh man, do they? So I think Woody Harrelson is very well cast.
Yeah.
He did a really good job here. Paul Glover, like you said, really good. I feel like the strength for me anyway of this movie is in several of the sequences. Mm-hmm. Like is that what they're called? Like a chunk of things happening. Is that called a sequence? Like when they go and attack the mine and all of that. What is that
There
called?
is a better word for
a
that.
Scene.
A set piece is a better word for that.
Is that?
Yeah.
Like they arrive at the mining colony to where they leave. That's a set piece.
Yeah, all of that is
so the whole mine is a set piece.
Yeah.
So the mine was awesome. I liked everything about that, except for the fact that all of the guards can't hit anything. But I was totally engaged. Like how I can tell a movie for me is good is if I forget that I'm watching a movie. Yeah. And that happened to me there. And then the Chewbacca intro, the train was awesome.
So cool.
Holy crap! I had never even thought that a train would do that, like turn on its side to get around it. It's super cool, and all of the stuff that happens on it was really well executed. I was engaged. Her death was dumb. What's her name?
So
Val.
Yeah, and as an actress, she's incredible.
Yeah.
And it is a little sad that she's not in the movie more.
It was dumb. Like there was no. She could have just didn't she have like this bungee cord thing tied to her something?
Yeah.
She could have just jumped off on her bungee cord and the thing. Like there was no reason for her to die. So that was dumb.
I saw at least one person say Han is an amalgamation of all of those characters as to become Han Solo.
So they had to all die.
I guess maybe that's the thing, but he took bits from this guy, bits from her, maybe.
I don't know. But when she died, that took me out of that total immersion in the scene.
Part of the problem is
or the set piece. I mean,
is that she's so good in the movie,
right?
And feels like we could have seen more.
And then there are just these little moments that are really... My favorite one was they're running from the TIE fighters and Han whacks one of them with the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was so cool. I was like, who thought of that? That was great. So I didn't like the whatever that was, beast in the maw.
Yeah.
How is that thing alive? What is it eating? What is it...
That's fair. Two things.
What is it doing there?
Two things. One, in Empire Strikes Back, when they're running from the Empire, we do see these giant worm thingies just on it. So it is I guess in Star Wars, there are just things in space.
That live on...
Spaceships?
Vacuum? I don't know.
But the other thing is that wasn't originally there. It was just going to be... It's called the Maw.
Right.
It was just going to be that, but... that wasn't exciting enough, which I actually think is fair because we know Han's not gonna die.
Right.
I don't think that's ever a thought in our minds. How are they gonna survive? No, we know that he's not gonna die. He's in the next few movies and stuff. But it's how do we make it as exciting as possible?
Yeah, well...
Also, I was thinking of this in Star Trek, I think it's Star Trek 2, the new ones. They're trying to escape a black hole. I wonder if it was that specific scene. It was how do we make this different? It's the same thing, trying to get away from a black hole thing. What if we added a giant squid monster? Because you can't just get out. In fact, they're oh, quick, it's on a timer. Put the drop in. Oh, didn't work. You got to keep us on our toes,
Yeah. I guess.
I guess.
Anyhow,
it wasn't there.
I wasn't very interested in that, but
it is.
My favorite part of this movie is L3.
Really?
Yeah. I love, like, everything about that robot. Like, just because in literally the rest of all Star Wars, all the robots are just servants. They're just, like, they fill roles. The only one that is even remotely like a person is, like, C-3PO, who I don't like anymore because of the frickin' whatever movie that was. What one was that? The second one? I was like, will you just shut up? Anyhow. So L3 has emotion. She's, like, in love with Lando. And then when she's like, rebel, revolt, like, everything about her was just so, like, creative. Like, I don't know. Anyhow.
So, okay.
You hate L3?
I don't, but I used to think she was so annoying.
Oh, really?
I watched the honest trailer of this, which sometimes are fun little time capsules of what people were talking about at the time. And it makes this joke in the YouTube video how L3 is either a social justice warrior to the extreme or making fun of SJWs. So it's like, it's so over the top, this is how ridiculous you sound type of thing. Yeah. So I wonder if people were saying that at the time.
Probably. I felt it was very effective as social justice.
I don't find her as annoying as I did the first time I saw this, that's for sure. I'm like, oh. But now, like, yeah, she's just kind of funny now. Fun fact that she's played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, a British actress and writer. In fact, she wrote like the first season of Killing Eve, which is incredible. Like, as far as I know, she was an actress here and there. She had a one-person show on stage called Fleabag and was able to turn a one-person show into a full-on TV series. So when they filmed L3, it was her on set, like a green bodysuit or whatever, with, like, various droid parts on her head. She was wearing a helmet thing and leg things. And, like, we'll just CG out everything in the middle. I think they ended up having to just completely take her out and replace with a CGI thing, but her body movements were used to, like, influence her walking and things. So she looks incredible as, like, as a character, which is cool. I do wonder this. So they plug her in to the Millennium Falcon to justify one line in one of the original movies where C-3PO says the ship has a unique voice or something. But I'm like, she wanted liberation and now she's trapped in a ship though.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's part of the whole philosophical underpinning of her character. Like, I thought it was super clever that she's telling the droids don't just blindly follow the program.
That's funny.
Like, that was really clever, but that is, like, a huge, like, we're actually in my class, my philosophy class this week is our free will week.
Nice.
And so she's very much the advocate for free will, for agency, for choosing to do.
Yeah.
Rather than, slotting into the machine. So, yeah, I really liked her because I believe very, very strongly in free will.
Yeah.
And a lot of Star Wars seems very much kind of anti-free will. Like, the system is so big that the rebellion is minute. In a couple movies, they blew up the Death Star almost entirely by accident.
Yeah. That's a good point.
And so Star Wars as a whole seems to be very much deterministic, is the opposite of free will. So I really liked L3 that she was the one character that's like, go, be free.
She's sort of like, I don't care what you do. Go be free. Liberate the others.
Liberate the others. That's what she said. And so then this whole thing happens just because she's willing to exercise her agency.
I like that.
Yeah, I really, really liked that. Because most of the rest of the characters, you can see, like, they're slaves to the system that they live in.
Well, I'm going to interrupt. I wrote down as one of the themes, because it's said multiple times, is not listening to orders.
Right.
Like Beckett, he says Han a couple times, like criticizing him not listening to orders.
Right.
It's probably all planned out. They probably had that as part of the L3 stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's like Han even says, "You're right. I am bad at listening to orders," type of thing. And anything that's said more than once, that's clearly a purposeful theme that they want you to focus on.
Yeah.
I just never made that connection to L3 until just now.
Cool.
It would be cool if that. I mean, digging deep into the franchise as a whole, at least what we've watched so far, is Anakin struggled with the Jedi Order,
right.
And he was a slave, then he was a Jedi, being told what to do his entire life.
Yeah.
This just kind of feels more, I guess, grounded and gritty in a realistic way.
Yeah, which I really liked a lot.
Yeah.
But you can look at just about any other character in this movie, and they're all in deterministic roles. Like, Kira?
I think that's it, yeah.
Is very determined. Like, there's no point in her, what we know anyway of her story, that she was able to choose, that she had free will. Because she's a slave on Coruscant.
It's not. I don't know. Can't think of what it is, but it's not.
A slave on whatever, and then something vague happened, and so these forces acted on her, so that now she's this bad guy person. So she never had a choice. Even Lando is boxed in and determined by the system that he works in. Like, he can't do anything outside of this very narrow set of choices. So L3 is the only one, and Han, which I think is one of the reasons we love Han Solo. Apparently you guys don't love Han Solo, but I do. One of the reasons we love Han Solo is he's the one that's free. Like, he can just take off if he wants. If he's like, this sucks, I'm out. Yeah. He can do that. Everyone else has a role that's predetermined, destiny, all of that stuff. So I'm a big fan of L3. There's a couple of other things that I think are interesting philosophically. So the mining colony is set up on a system that was developed by Jeremy Bentham, he's a philosopher, called the Panopticon.
You know what?
Yeah.
Here's a tangent for you.
Do it.
I had a student a few years ago and took your class, learned about the Panopticon theory. You threw it in an essay, and I'm like, dang, I probably need to give this guy 100%. Throws in the Panopticon theory out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's cool. It's really interesting. Like, anyhow. So when Bentham originally conceived it, it was a prison with the guard tower in the center, and it's high enough that the prisoners in the prison can't tell if there's a guard there or not. And then all of the cells are open to the center, and they're in a circle around this tower in the middle. And so every prisoner has a cell. The guards are or are not in the tower watching them, and so everyone behaves because they never know if they're being observed or not. Yeah. And that's the exact. I thought it was really cool. That's the exact system that this mining colony works on. There's one point where they go into the control room. They literally say that we can control all of these people with so few because we have this center area. Anyhow, so that was kind of a cool little. I don't know if the people that made this knew about that, but the idea has been taken from Bentham and run into, like, we all live in the Panopticon because we never know when we're being listened to or observed, and so we all behave ourselves because maybe there's a cop behind that billboard over there, or maybe somebody's listening to your phone conversation or whatever, and so our audience is going to love this. It's social media, a self-made Panopticon, where it's like, what are you posting? Is that going to affect you later in life? Yeah. What are you saying right now that might affect your job or whatever? Yeah, it will. In the future. It will.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
That is cool, Dr. Dietz.
Thank you, Master Hudson. And then there were a couple of lines that were philosophically interesting. What is Woody Harrelson's character's name?
Beckett.
Beckett says, assume everyone will betray you and you'll never be disappointed. Kira says everyone serves someone, which is the opposite of what we just talked about with L3. Yeah. So that philosophy suggests, again, a deterministic view of reality. Like, there isn't anyone that's free. everyone serves somebody else. Even like Darth Maul, who's the whatever he is in this movie.
He's in charge of Crimson Dawn.
Right, who's that? He serves the Emperor.
I think technically he doesn't serve the Emperor.
Okay, well, I don't.
So here's the thing.
know or care.
I remember I saw this movie for the first time at a drive-in movie theater. When I saw Darth Maul, I freaked out audibly. I'm like, Darth Maul! Because I didn't watch the show. I didn't really care that he was existing in that thing. I was like, Darth Maul?
But he didn't do anything.
I know, and this was almost the first Star Wars movie that doesn't have a lightsaber, you know? It's
hey, that's true.
And then he just lights it up, and
for no reason at all.
Some people don't like that.
He just turned it on, and then he shut it off.
I'm Darth Maul.
Look at my lightsaber!
I just want to list a few things I liked, and then I'll get into my film studies thing.
Let's do it.
I like how Lando calls Han, because in the original movie, he would just say Han, and like, what are you doing? but now it has like we can see that Lando is just messing with Han, you know?
He's just a jerk.
Thank you, Han. It's Han, you know? Now it has like it's connected there. I don't know, the dice thing? The dice thing, it's like, where did these come from? Oh, they were in the background the entire time of the original trilogy. And
I'm going to have to look for them.
I know. Well, we'll see them in a few movies in a few weeks.
Yeah.
They're just there, apparently.
They're just floating.
They're just like there's not a mirror, but they're hanging up on something in front of them. I like how this movie there's not a crawl, like the title opening sequence crawl.
Right.
They have blue text. They're like, what can we do different? That's Star Warsy, but not the opening crawl. I like this one. The next movie, Rogue One, they do something different, so pay attention.
Okay.
I guess.
Why did they change it?
Because it's not one of the episodes. It's not like episode 3.4 or whatever. It's just...
It's a standalone, a Star Wars movie.
Exactly, and there were going to be more, but like I said...
Sadly.
This movie killed that.
That's really dumb.
My favorite moment out of the entire movie is when Chewbacca sits down with Han to fly the ship for the first time.
That was beautiful.
That plays the fanfare. Like, Kira doesn't know what she's doing. Chew's hitting the buttons over. the line is funny. You're 190 years old? Nothing. You look great for your age.
Yeah.
That's pure movie magic right there.
That was a perfect moment.
And like you said, it feels organic.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. Not like fan servicey.
Yeah.
And I guess I do have to retract what I said earlier. It's mostly the Solo getting his name. That's the number one thing I hate. Everything else, the background stuff, I think basically works.
Yeah.
Even when Lando goes, I hate you. And Han goes, I know. which is a funny line for the fans.
Okay. Wait, did they say that in
this movie? Yeah.
No, in one of the future movies?
Okay.
No, like, for real. I haven't watched the Star Wars movies for decades.
I know. It's that line. That's like an iconic moment. You'll see it in Empire.
Okay,
everyone listening knows what I'm talking about.
I'm sure I know it too. I just haven't watched these for decades, so.
Okay, there's two things I kind of want to point out. First thing will be new for you for this time.
Okay.
This is, I think, maybe the most interesting Star Wars movie on a cinematography level. That might not be true because there's some beautiful stuff to come. Like, even the original movies have some scenes that definitely have cinematic sequences. But this one has unique ones, I suppose. So, like, for example, there's a moment where there's a super close-up on Han's eye. Like, a super close-up where he's looking at something. Like, oh, have we ever seen a super close-up in Star Wars before? There's a cool moment where the camera is mounted on the Millennium Falcon as it's flying. I don't know if we've seen that either.
Yeah.
It's just the camera looks like it's connected to the literal real-life Millennium Falcon as it's flying.
Yeah.
And then there's like some shaky cam. There's a part where Lando brings in L3 and the camera like follows them up the ramp and into the ship. I was like, I don't know if we've seen like a handheld. Yeah. We definitely haven't seen it in the prequels. I don't think we've seen I think that's a unique shot type of thing.
Cool.
So it's being
Ron Howard, huh?
Yeah, it's being a little bit creative with its cinematography. And,
cool.
Yeah. Way cool.
Which is always good.
Which is always good.
Unless it isn't. What?
Name one time where it's not.
I don't know.
Gotcha.
Skinamarink.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Anyway. Okay. Here's a fancy word that we've definitely mentioned before, but I just kind of wanted to highlight it because I think it's my favorite overall thing in this movie. Mise-en-scene. It's a French term meaning placing on stage, because mise-en-scene applies to stage and film. It's literally everything you see. It's the costuming, it's the lighting, it's the color, it's where characters are standing or framed or positioned, it's the setting, it's the props. It's all that stuff. This movie, compared to almost all Star Wars, has maybe the most interesting mise-en-scene. Like, that's double-handed, because arguably lightsabers are the most iconic prop in history.
Right.
Maybe, you know? The costumes are always iconic. But this costume, like the costumes here, they seem like they're telling their own story. Like the TV shows we've been getting the last 5 years are expensive. Like $20 million an episode expensive. This movie looks expensive. And and you want that in our big blockbusters.
Yeah,
we know that they're expensive. It's nice when they look expensive. Yeah. Look at all these costumes and like these crazy looking alien guys. And these sets like Kessel, people are falling in like a pond, like a puddle, you know. Yeah. But the lighting is super cool. Like people criticize it by saying it's too dark, can't really see anything, which is kind of true. But also, Star Wars has never looked like this before.
Yeah.
It's like a Western film. You see a silhouette as Han is standing in the doorway, about to play cards and stuff.
Yeah.
It's the lighting. Some people don't like it. I really like it.
It's part of what made me feel Indiana Jones rather than Star Wars, actually.
Right.
When Indy's in like the caves or the temples or whatever, it's usually like that. It's dark with shadows, and I thought it was a really good choice, since Han is kind of an Indiana Jonesy type of character in Star Wars. So.
Yeah, lighting does so much to make things look cinematic or whatever. Like I see online, or I guess on X or Twitter, whatever, people post screenshots from older movies. It's like, this is what lighting used to look like, because we're so used to some modern movies just looking like stale and boring in a way. But the lighting is so cool. That's part of the mise-en-scene. It's distinct.
Yeah, for sure.
I like even the setting. Like the Millennium Falcon in the original movie was unique because it's a used ship. You think of science fiction in the 50s into the 60s, everything's shiny and new all the time.
Yep.
But the Millennium Falcon is a used car. But in reverse, now it's doing it. Oh, the Millennium Falcon used to look shiny and clean.
It used to be a beautiful ship.
And Chewie and Han made it dirty and stuff, which makes sense. They're two bachelors, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that,
except for Chewie.
Right, and Chewie, of course.
Has a family. Back home.
As we all know.
We don't all know that. Only 3 people know that.
Anyway, so the setting is telling stories. Also, the bad guy's ship, Paul Bentley, Dryden Voss, his ship is tall. We've seen long ships in Star Wars.
Yeah.
This is the first tall ship.
Which also doesn't really make sense.
Doesn't make
for
sense.
Gravity.
Yeah,
purposes,
it's kind of silly when you think about it, but it looks cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, I also love in like the last scene, they're on this beach. It's just so windy. It's kind of cool that it's so windy there. Anyway, mise-en-scene in this movie, of course, is incredible. Next time you're watching a movie, pay attention to the mise-en-scene.
Do it.
Yeah, you can tell a lot about a character from just their costume, how they're standing sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, mise-en-scene could also be makeup and all the character the aliens and stuff. That's part of it all.
Yeah.
Anyway, mise-en-scene.
Yeah, I really, really liked this movie a lot. So I'm sad that everyone else is hating.
Somehow, I don't know if it's a fair... It's lazy criticism to say, oh, it's kind of boring, I guess. Or just forgettable. And not boring. That is a fair criticism. But forgettable. I don't know.
I mean, that's a fair criticism. I don't know that this is. It wasn't. It's not to me. Like, I really liked knowing where he came from. Like,
yeah, it's kind of cool.
And all of the little bits and...
I guess it's just... something else that I don't love is now we've seen the Kessel Run, where it's a shorter distance out of Kessel, I suppose, the planet.
Is that important?
When you first meet Han Solo in A New Hope, it's been a while since you've seen these, but
yeah, long time.
He's like, the Millennium Falcon, it's the ship that made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. You know, before it was like, what's the Kessel Run? It's whatever you think is the coolest.
Oh, now it's nailed down.
Now it's that thing. Yeah. So that's sometimes disappointing to me, but
oh
well. Anyway, like part of the reason. Some of the reason it really took out the mise-en-scene. I'm doubling back because I just remembered a great example is when they're on that first planet. There's Lady Proxima is the big worm thing. The males are these smaller ones, and they have this helmet thing, that mask thing that just closes their face. That's something that's like going above and beyond for a character, especially an alien. We didn't need to see their faces,
right?
But we do, and they have a cool mask that it's just. It feels like there's thought put into all of the little things. All right, tell us the ethics of Solo, a Star Wars story.
Just gambling, because so much of this movie is centered on gamble. Like everything they do is a gamble, and then the gambling, the winning, whatever.
That's like something that feels like it's right there in front of our faces, and it takes someone like you to say, "Yeah, look at it." They literally gamble. They gamble with their lives.
Everything
they gamble
is
with...
a gamble.
That's such a good...
Doing the Kessel Run.
Oh, man. It's so good. I'm mad I didn't even think about it.
Okay, sorry. Do you want to delete that part?
No,
okay.
Keep going.
So, the ethics of gambling has always really been interesting to me because, honestly, it's not... Like, gambling is not an ethical thing. From almost any perspective, because you're using people's natural desire for reward against them.
Yeah.
And so we see that here over and over and over in this movie. And so as I was watching this, for the first time I realized what is actually going on with gambling is it's logos versus pathos. Anyone...
Hold on, wait. That feels like... I just want to make sure we stew in that one sentence there, because I feel like this gambling is logos versus pathos. I just want to make sure we're all understanding the gravity of that sentence.
I feel like you're making fun of me.
No, I'm not. I'm excited. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Okay, so the only reason that...
Like, I feel like you can write a dissertation on that already.
You could.
Probably.
Sure. Anyone listening that needs a dissertation topic, there you go.
Okay, go for it.
The only reason that gambling exists is because of pathos. Anyone who can use the logical side of their brain would never gamble, with the sole exception of blackjack. Blackjack, you can win. If you understand the logic behind blackjack, when to hit, when to fold, you can win over the long term. Mm-hmm. But almost nobody ever does, because the pathos portion of our brains overpowers the logos. There's a fantastic movie, 21, with Kevin Spacey, who I realize I can't say this because he's an evil person, but he's one of my favorite actors, does phenomenal in it. And it shows this because in the movie 21, there's a system. The system works. Mm-hmm. As long as you stick to the logos, the system you will be successful. Uh-huh. But the system breaks down because of pathos. And so gambling only exists because of most people's inability to allow the logical brain to govern the pathos-driven brain.
Actually, so what you're telling us, you can gamble as long as you only use logos. That's what I heard.
if you can do that, yeah, you'll be fine because you won't play any of the games other than blackjack, because literally all of the other games are like we have a great example in the two like literal actual gambling scenes in this movie.
Yeah,
the events that happen in both of those are completely pathos. There's no logos there at all.
Yeah.
So in the first one, like when Han loses, it's because of emotion. Like he's like, oh yeah, I'm the god of whatever the name of the game was. And Sabak. And
which I need to shout out my brother, Mark, or my twin. He saw this and was like, those aren't the rules of Sabak actually, because he's read all the books, and so I don't even know what the official rules are now or whatever, but fans are like, that's not how you play Sabak. I have a Sabak deck. I'll bring it and we'll play some Sabak.
Yeah.
No, I think it's important to recognize people gamble because they're diving into pathos, not logos.
Right.
Like, I don't think people even... That's not on anyone's radar, probably.
Well, that's because most of us are not critical thinkers.
Like, oh my gosh, how dare you?
We don't... Well, and I include myself. Like, I am a recent convert to critical thinking. Like, in the last 15 years of my life. The first 35 years of my life, I was totally pathos-driven.
I think people misinterpret the phrase critical thinking just based on seeing people argue online, but I think people interpret it as being smart.
No.
I know, but I think that's what people use it as. Hey, be critical thinkers, meaning...
Be smart.
Be smart. It was like, no, being open to
like
growing and not understanding. And
right. It's like critical thinking is simply taking a step back and asking questions about whatever it is before you move into it. And so gambling only exists, again, because it short circuits that.
Yeah.
Wait, let me step back. Let me think about this. It's all emotion driven. Like every single gambling movie you've ever seen is that. It's
unless it's Ocean's 11 where they rob the casino. So.
But Ocean's 11 is a great... I love Ocean's 11. It's a great example of what we're talking about. So they win in Ocean's 11 because they're critical thinkers. Like George Clooney's character is a critical thinker. And so he's thought ahead, okay, what happens in this? And if this happens, what are we going to do? And whatever. Like they win because the other... I don't remember who the bad guy is, but he's a pathos guy. And he reacts emotionally, and they just totally use logos to manipulate the crap out of him, and they win.
Yeah, and like I love that reading of Everything's a Gamble, because even was it Beckett? He says to Han, "People are predictable," so that's like planning to. I'm gambling with what you are going to do.
Right.
And then Han gambles like, yeah, I knew you double crossed me.
Guess what? I'm double crossing. Oh man.
Anyway,
the last 15 minutes. Anyhow, so the ethics of gambling are always going to be the manipulation of.
What about bingo?
I don't even understand why people play bingo.
Bingo is fun.
How?
I don't know. It's exciting to get.
How?
A bingo? I don't know. I've never done it. I've never gambled.
You've never played bingo?
I've played bingo. I've never gambled.
Bingo
for
is
money.
the dumbest game ever, but...
Jeez.
Like, it's just random chance. Like, it's not like you can be good at bingo. You're just like, oh, yep. I didn't get that number.
You don't like games where luck is involved.
I do not like games where luck is involved.
No, I'm not kidding when I'm like, that could be a dissertation.
It could.
You'd have to gamble in real life, though, or get people to gamble. Where's the logos? When would logos make you stop? You know, that type of thing.
Before you start.
Well, that's the boring answer.
So there's no logic-driven person that is going to sit down at a roulette wheel. Like, there's no logic to doing that.
I guess
just the pathos of
unless
the big payoff. There's no logic to the big payoff. It's all pathos.
there might be other types of logical gambling, like betting on specific sports if you follow statistics of players and stuff.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. But even then, it's still gambling. It's still a risk.
I'm anti-gambling. Let me make that
for sure
clear. I'm anti-gambling.
Like I have purchased one lottery ticket in my life,
Nice.
and I won $5.
Heck
and
yeah!
I figure like
Go
I'm
buy
out
some
on top.
more.
No, I'm going out on top. I have played the slot machine once,
Nice.
and I won. So I figured like that statistically, I gotta stop because.
That's how they
I
get you.
won.
You have a better chance of winning your first time,
Right.
Because it'll hook you.
Right. So, I don't know what that had to do with anything, but there you go. That's the logos and pathos.
See, that's why
of
you
gambling.
gotta watch Uncut Gems, because he's addicted to the game. Actually, you probably won't, because it'd be a silent movie.
Right.
But the main character
looked at it multiple
is like
times.
addicted to gambling, and like throughout the movie, you're like, man, he should just stop now. Quit while you're ahead, type of thing. But it's like he can't. It's not in his character to.
Plus, also it's Adam Sandler, so.
Yeah, okay, but not being Adam Sandler-y though. It's
oh wow!
He's not
I didn't
doing
know
like
he could do that. Yeah, I didn't know he could do that.
Yeah, he's actually acting. Okay, so
wow, way to go, Adam! You figured it out. Actually, he's a two character guy. Mm-hmm. He can do the Happy Gilmore, and he can also do like the 50 First Dates.
But
those are his two guys.
He has a movie called Punch Drunk Love with Paul Thomas Anderson, a director I really like. And apparently he's incredible in it, and I just haven't seen it. And he's not doing his silly thing in that either. Food of the Reel. Yeah. No, there's a funny one. I got one. They're at the party. Becca's like, don't talk to anyone. And then Kira's there. Chewie goes to get 2 glasses, turns around, sees Han talking to a girl, and then drinks both of them. I just love how Chewie goes to get him and Han a drink. Right. That's so fun. Yeah, I love Chewbacca. Fun.
Yeah, he's great.
Okay, so we only have one more standalone, Rogue One, and then we're gonna do a your choice. Then it's the original trilogy.
Okay.
So, do you know anything about Rogue One?
Not a thing.
Do you want me to tell you the one sentence of what it's about?
Why?
I don't know. Or do you just want to be as blind as a bat?
All right. That's what we've been doing.
Listener, this is exciting. Jason is gonna go into Rogue One, not knowing anything. It takes place in between 3 and 4.
Okay.
It's in between. Like this one was. Someone like you watching this, like Darth Maul, what does that mean? But we're watching in order chronologically. Right. Last time we saw Maul, he got cut in half.
Yeah.
And so this is in between. He's on his way to go to Jabba's palace, where next time we see Han Solo, that's the debt he's trying to pay off.
As he goes to Jabba's palace, gambles.
Yeah, he gets somehow... Probably a job goes wrong, and he owes Jabba money. Oh, wait.
So I don't know anything about Rogue One.
Don't know anything about Rogue One. It's just always exciting. You don't even know anything. You haven't seen a trailer.
Nope.
Super exciting stuff.
Okay. I'm glad you're excited.
I'll say this. This is the last thing I'll say, then we're done. I think it says a lot about a person where they put Rogue One on their Star Wars rankings.
Oh, good. So you're going to understand the deepness of my soul by...
But then again, you threw a wild card. You really liked this one. And
I don't understand how anyone could hate this movie.
Well, send us an email if you don't like this movie. Desert of the Real Pod.
Great. I would love to know why, other than, like, I don't even know. I can't. So
I love how we can never predict sometimes what you are going to say about movies. Join us next week for Rogue One.
Please.
Email us why you don't like this movie if that's you.
Yeah, I would really, really like to know.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, we love you. Thanks for listening.
We love you. Bye.